Okay, we're going to take a look at teaching and learning. And really, you have to remember with this, many of our adults that are being cared for now by children that are also considered aging, we need to be cognizant to both. So some of the principles that we're going to look at is adult learners learn differently than children. A big impact becomes the demographics and how this really influences our teaching learning process. Because the focus is on health promotion, healthy behaviors, we're not just teaching in hospitals anymore. We're out in community centers, we're at church groups, women's communities. We're taking away from the traditional thought for school. Another thing with education, though, is as these baby boomers are retiring and still very active and educated, they are returning back to courses in colleges to maybe learn photography. It's just amazing to see the enrollment in many of these optional programs or a course just for interest and to expand their life that they're living. The other thing we really want to look at is cultural diversity. As we talked about, as this population ages and other cultures are becoming more prevalent, we have to remember that many of them can be English as second language and don't have all the terminology maybe that we're used to using. We're gonna, in your learning plan, I really have a lot out there about health literacy, because as the nurse that's educating that patient and family, you need to understand what the term health literacy means. There's been much money put into various organizations. Your textbook on page 138 has specific recommended internet resources, because with the internet, Wikipedia pops up first, and as nurses we know to look for reputable sites. Unfortunately, this may not be true for that aged learner, so we want to send them to the appropriate places, and these are the recommended sites that we like to send our people to. Again, we talked about the visual changes, the not wanting glossy print, but yet you need to be aware that maybe they have diabetes and they do have some visual impairment, so that the font size is bigger. So knowing who, again, that client is. And we want to look at strategies to enhance. Key terms that we'll look at, andragogy is the term that we use to educate adults. And those are principles that we use like in higher education, is that pedagogy is for children. We teach children very differently. The adult learner wants to be recognized for life experience. Geriatric is where we are talking about teaching that person, the older person, 65 and older. Talking about, again, how that cultural diversity will come into play, we see health disparity among economic groups. Insurance is really at a big time. We're talking about Obamacare. Medicare funding is changing. How people can apply for Medicaid is very different. So that health disparity, unfortunately, we see that those cultures or groups have higher health needs than the general population. As I said, I want you to take some time and really go through that health literacy, that you're understanding what that means and the relevance in healthcare now, that we really assess our clients for their health literacy knowledge. Learning is lifelong. We never stop learning, and I think the older we get and the more we can engage in learning, the more fulfilling life is. Literacy just means the ability to read. It is unfortunate that some of our older persons can't read. Maybe they were not college educated. That just wasn't where they were. Some of the driving factors behind health promotion and injury illness prevention, again, is that Healthy People 2020, and in earlier chapters I had you going out there looking for that, because we have specific objectives that are very relevant to that older person, and if we're going to keep them healthy in injury prevention, we need to know where the current focus is. And then again, those internet resources to send them to. Or the other thing, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act of 2010, Medicare now is covering educational interventions for things such as diabetes, cardiac care, nutritionalists, as it's related to that disease. Also going through those gerontological nursing scope and standards that we've discussed in earlier chapters, that the big focus is really on keeping our elder population as healthy and injury-free as possible. So the GI Bill came along, and after Vietnam, it sent all these people to college. And again, these are the baby boomers. So again, we have a very more educated, as we've talked about, population of aging adults than ever. Looking at that retirement time, and again, looking at longevity of life, and if you're going to live another 20 years after you retire, many are finding part-time work in different careers and do need to come back for a class or some education or training. And so we need to work at how we do that. And it really doesn't need to be all that formalized. It can be more informal as well, depending on that task or what it is they're going to do. As we look at the adult learning theory, what we say is you have to look at what is motivating that adult to learn. And we look at this a lot, even in higher education, as you look at the population in the college classroom is getting older than traditionally. We have people in nursing coming back as second careers through dislocated workers. So we have to look at really what is motivating them. Is it because it's finally the time in their life that they have raised their children or lost a job, and now they can really focus on changing that time into doing what it is they always dreamed of doing. And motivation becomes a big issue. And another issue that's really characteristic to the adult learner is they want to be respected for what they know, okay? And they want to see the relevance in that teaching, not just because I told you so. They want to understand why it's important to learn that. Whereas children, we just tell them what they need to know. You will learn math, you will learn how to read, you will learn your colors. We don't tell them the why. With adults, they seek that understanding. And as I'm summarizing here, it's saying that respect for their abilities and experience. We call it, what are you bringing to the table? And I try to tell even new nurses that you might have a new nursing degree, but what other abilities and experience do you have that you bring to that new job? Is it that maybe in a previous position you were very well organized and you can manage a team and you have strong communication skills? You want those strengths brought to the table. Very autonomous, independent, very goal-oriented, and think for yourself, why are you even taking this class? Is it you need to be an independent learner? I've given you ideas and recommendations, and as that adult learner, if you really want to master gerontology, you're going to probably explore everything you put out there, or do you just need enough, and that's where you need to be, and that's fine too. With that adult learner, they want to bring that into their daily lives. They want to be active participants. They want to build, again, on that life experience. What is tangible? What can they put that new concept around? Because with all of us, a lot of our self-identity as an adult is from past experiences. So as a younger person, if you were told you never could do that, you're never going to succeed, don't even bother, you bring that into your later years of that self-doubt, self-identity. So that can be changed, but we need to be aware of that working with the adults. As with anything in healthcare and the higher up in nursing education that you go, we look at theories to guide us, and we've seen many theories in other chapters. But really the theory behind teaching and learning is about self-efficacy, that we want to know what our capabilities are, we want to have control, and we want a high level of performance. Most people don't get up and say, I'm going to do a marginal job today. They want to be successful. And it is to understand that older adults can compensate to learn when they have other disabilities. They can adapt and get around to get that knowledge that they need. As I mentioned in the terms Geriatric, this is looking at that 65 and older individual and look at the processes that is stimulating and how do we help that older person learn. We want to get that empowerment, emancipation, independence, self-efficacy. I can care for myself if I learn to do something a new way. If I understand my medications better, I will be healthier. So what is that driving factor? Also being aware of that psychomotor, cognitive, sensory. What do we as the nurse trying to educate them need to work around that they can be successful, because they do bring some disability or some differences possibly to that learning environment. Looking at the preferences, what they want: easy access. They want to know that they can go. They're not going to spend 60 grand on a PhD. Looking for small investment of time and money where I can start learning and learning it now. And this is where sewing classes are big, photography classes, basic computer classes. They want to be able to take that course and then apply it right out. And many community colleges have many excellent additional offerings at a very economic cost to support just this. Also want their own personal growth, spiritual journeys. They want topics that's going to improve their quality of life, maybe build on a previous skill, or they do want to learn how to take better care of themselves. And again, with Geriatric, they want to take right away what they learned or in the immediate future and be able to apply it. As we look at those barriers again, you've got to be cognizant of those health disparities. As that population changes, the culture changes, we're seeing more things printed in Spanish. And if you think of immigrants maybe that have relocated, they may not have any formal education at all. And that's just an unfortunate thing. So what is their reading comprehension? How can they read a bottle to look at their medications? Excuse me. Also, because of their cultural and ethnic origins, we do have statistics now that show that they also have greater health disparities, because the higher your health literacy, actually the healthier you are. So the lower the literacy, the sicker you are, but we also know there's genetic components. I think that's really fascinating the way your book talks about that 48% of African American have chronic illness against 39% of the total population. That's quite high. So as you look at those factors, talking about the readability of materials, you don't want big glossy prints that may cause glare if they have some visual acuity changes. Bigger fonts, solid colors. Looking at those patterns of, like even on a PowerPoint, a pamphlet of what color are you using that best suits their needs. The interesting about technology, we've had a wealth of websites pop up and excellent resources. 70%, 50 to 74 have a computer in their home. You go through an airport now and you see grandma with her iPad out or a reader. They have internet access. They're FaceTiming with their families. They're Skyping. They're into social networking. The public libraries have free access. Hotels have them. So again, seeing what's even on TV with the adaptive equipment and larger screens and easier to read, and things that will read to them if maybe they do have that visual problem. So again, adapting to where they need to be. So we want to keep it grounded in adult learning theory and that geragogy, that we want to explore what their needs are and be able to apply it right away. Like with any teaching, you want multiple modalities. You don't want to just talk. You maybe want a video clip, you may want to read an article, you may want to sit back and read a book. Maybe just having someone like this talk to you in a lecture. You have to be able to accommodate those physical needs. Presentations need to be elder friendly. We have a lot of our own speak, and I think that little video clip I have out there for you about the two old guys listening to the music and the way words have changed and how our jargon means a whole different thing in our era compared to what it means to them. So as we wrap this up, just, it is an exciting time. It is a group of individuals that really want to learn, and it is so much fun, and it is frustrating. It's just a time, and if you just want a good laugh, go watch that video clip about the two of them, the little couple I have that get the internet. It's just hilarious. So you have to remember that it isn't as quick, like even for us maybe, that just needs to be shown once or twice. They may need to be shown multiple times. I've also had to, with my own father, between all the technology we use to communicate, I can show him, but I still have to type it out and screenshot a page and put an arrow that says now click here. But after time, then it gets easy, and then he's doing it on his own. But I've got to show him in multiple ways how to use the reliable technology that's available to him. And again, the lower the health literacy, the worse their health is.